So if you just look over to the far right picture there, that was one of the teachers of Sangharakshita who started this movement. His name was Dhardo. He's dead now. But he's the theme, as it were, for this month. So I just wanted to say a few words. I never personally met him, but I heard a lot about him from Sangharakshita in the early years when I got involved. He talked about him quite a bit, and other friends who went to Kalimpong to meet him. And there are certain qualities which really stand out in the way that people talked about him, which are just also important generally. Even though he was recognized as an incarnate Lama in the Tibetan tradition, it didn't have any sort of effect on him. He didn't use that sense of status. He just didn't think in those terms, which is in a way quite amazing because people do, but he never did. He just said, well, no, I'm practicing. I might become great through my practice, but I'm not going to use my status and sitting on the throne and things like that. In fact, he developed real friendships and real connection with individuals, which was important to Sangharakshita. They became good friends, as well as Dhardo being a mentor to Sangharakshita. So, that's important. Those two things, the humility and the friendliness. But also, Dhardo underwent a very rigorous training from a very young age. Meditation, the Dharma, and was an abbot of a big monastery where he was also teaching, training, and mentoring. So this aspect of, he was in training and he was communicating that. He was training himself and he communicated that. And in a way, that is what I want to pick up on, and as it were, then develop for the rest of this bit. Put glasses on so I can see you clearer. Ta-da! Right. So, of course, the word training is used in lots of ways nowadays, but traditionally in the Dharma, it's used in terms of training in ethics, training in meditation, and training in the development and reflection that draws out wisdom. So they're all seen as training that you take on for yourself. And so there are a couple of particularly what I would consider really valuable and important areas of training. And the first one I want to mention is continuity. And some of you have heard me talk about this, I know, but it's worth saying, finish your sentences. We invited someone for dinner into the community, and everyone in the community was just getting really frustrated because he never finished the sentences, ever. So we never knew what he was talking about. And in the end, I was like, I got to say something. And he was like, what? Oh, really? So he's got that now as a training. And of course, finishing your sentences is an external thing. See what I did there? But it's also an internal thing as well, where you have a train of thought about something, you're reflecting on something, or you're giving yourself advice to do something and you stay with that. It's an internal process which you stay with and keep a continuity of, rather than going, oh, and then jumping off. So this process internally is, in a way, dealing with the tendency for jumping off to other things. And what that working with that tendency does is that it allows you to really develop qualities and develop your focus and your ability to stay with good qualities at a deeper level. Otherwise, it's just all superficial. So it's a very important personal and principial area. I was going to pull my hair out for a moment. When I joined my community, no one had continuity. And I just banged on about it all the time, and I think I irritated all of them. Well, I know I did, because they'd never been pulled up on it. I was like, and they're like, ah. And then now, the ones who are still here from then, they're very good. Hooray. And so it's important. That's why I feel passionate about it. It's how you grow and develop. You have a quality, let's say confidence or patience. You keep a continuity. You touch into it from time to time rather than just forgetting it, that you had it. And that's how these qualities and you grow and develop, which is really an important part of the Dharma process. Yeah. So there's also connectedness. I mean, in our Western society, I would say, without too much fear of argument from people, people get very heady in their work, particularly perhaps. Not everybody, but a lot of people. And what the headiness does is that it disconnects you or disassociates you from a more broader sense of yourself, your emotions, your mood, your body, how your instincts, your intuition, and your imagination, and so on. You just I mean, it might not be exactly like that, but you know what I mean. Might be a little more articulate, perhaps. So the connectedness as a personal practice is really useful. That you go, oh, I'm a bit heady, come down. What am I feeling about this? What are the feeling tone of the thoughts? What's actually in my body at the moment? You know, what's another way of connecting with myself other than just monologue? So this connecting is a training, you know, and really important. Then we sort of, in a way, now come to the bit that we just started to explore at the end of the last meditation that we did before tea break, which is asking yourself that question: what are characteristics or positive characteristics that I value, or that I'm missing, or that I need, or I could pay more attention to? There's a sort of whole little coterie of questions there. And actually, this question, what's missing, is a really valuable question. You know, you might be very clear and decisive, but not very kind. You might be very kind, but your thinking might be sloppy, for example. So what's missing? What's needed? And I think this question, what's needed, is an essential part of the growth and development process. It might just be, things will occur to you. I need more depth. I'm too superficial. I need to be playful. I'm too serious, and so on and so on. You see what I mean? You connect with how you are and what you need. And you also then start to get a sense, and this is slightly tricky, that very often positive qualities have a not so helpful side. So I think I have a spontaneous side, but in the past anyway, when I was younger, that spontaneous side was reckless. But in a way it was the unhelpful side of spontaneity. I would just do something without thinking about it, and it was not helpful or put myself in danger. Crocodiles. I seem to have a history with crocodiles. I've done some silly things with crocodiles in my past. I've still got all my limbs. It's absolutely amazing. Because I have done, been in jungles and things like that in my youth, which I love. And even last year, God, I came across a huge crocodile on the road where I was cycling in Mexico. It was huge. It just eaten somebody, I discovered. Anyway, that's another story. I wasn't hungry. So, where was I? Positive qualities have downsides, and you need to be able to recognize that. You need to be serious and serious about serious things, but that can be too narrow and hard and very literal, without having the spirit of inquiry, and what is important here and what's needed. So there's a couple of sort of associated qualities that are sort of very different. I think that gentle determination in practice is really important. You need to know what it feels like to be determined, but you also need to know when that determination is very rigid, too rigid. And you need to be able to recognize that in your mind when you have a sense of pliancy. And I came across in the community a very good example of this. I was talking about this with one of the community members, and he said, well, I've actually been working with pliancy for about 13 years. And he said the image is softening old hard leather with dubbing or something, and just, when I started I was very stiff and rigid about what was real and what was true and what was good and what was right, and who I was and what other people were like. And I've just been softening that for 13 years. And I just thought it was a great image, actually, that softening, pliant quality. And then, but the other side is being too lax and too lackadaisical and, not really focusing on things. So I am going to just say a few more words and in a way connect to the qualities of Dhardo, and then finish, and then in a way sort of see if I can connect them with us. So I mentioned that Dhardo was very impressive in his humility and his humbleness, and I think that one of the working grounds that a lot of people need to pay attention to is pride, intoxication with oneself, overestimating one's value or the value of what you do. Of course, not everyone has that, but I mean, it's something to pay attention to. And it's sometimes easier to see in somebody else. They're not open. I'm thinking of someone in particular, not present, who he just thinks he's the bee's knees and can do anything. And all his friends go, he'll do what he always does, he'll jump away in 2 minutes. Yeah. He can't do it. So communication in the Sangha is really important here. You actually get a bit of a mirror about those qualities, and it works the other way. I mean, I'll mention this very, not his name, obviously, very different. We're really fond of each other, and he's great. I mean, he's mostly just good qualities. Actually, he's mostly just incredibly happy and positive and kind and clear and focused, and I've known him for quite a while, and I think, I would have spotted anything else. He's mostly positive, but periodically he runs himself down, and I get quite flinty-eyed. And he goes, oh no, I shouldn't do that. Okay. And again, that's an expression of friendship that can happen. And initially, it really shocked him, because he would run himself down, and I would just say, is that really true? And he'd go, oh, actually, no, it's not true. It's a habit. I just say that, maybe to diffuse something, people being jealous of me. Actually, I could quite see that, because he's so happy as a person. People might get resentful. Yeah. So he says, oh, I got these faults, but it's not true. So there's that side as well, the inverted side.